On November 17, 1991, a group of expert cave divers set out to explore the deep, twisting tunnels of Indian Springs Cave in Florida. What started as an exciting adventure quickly turned into one of the most puzzling and tragic incidents in cave diving history. The team was part of the Woodville Karst Plains Project, known as the most skilled and organized group of cave divers in the world at that time. They had spent nearly 2 years planning this dive, developing special techniques and equipment to explore the extreme depths of the cave system. Among the divers were Parker Turner and Bill Gavin, who were tasked with the deepest and most challenging part of the exploration. George Irvine, another experienced diver, was part of the support team. Despite their vast experience, even George felt a bit nervous about cave diving. Every time he surfaced and saw daylight, he felt relieved to have made it out safely. The dive plan was carefully laid out. 3 teams would enter the cave. The first team would place air tanks at certain points. The second team, including George, would place tanks even deeper. Parker and Bill would go the deepest to explore new areas. They used special gas mixtures to breathe underwater, switching between different types depending on their depth. This was to prevent a dangerous condition called nitrogen narcosis, which can make divers feel drunk or confused when they're very deep. As Parker and Bill began their dive, everything seemed to be going according to plan. They swam through twisting tunnels until they reached a large area called the Wakala Room. After about an hour of exploring at a depth of 300 feet, as deep as a 30-story building, they started their journey back. But as they were returning, something strange began to happen. The water around them started to get cloudy, making it hard to see. At first, they thought they had just stirred up some dirt, but it kept getting worse. Soon, they could barely see anything at all. They reached a narrow part of the cave called Squaw Restriction, where things took a turn for the worse. The special rope they used to guide themselves, called a guideline, was buried in sand. When they tried to pull it up, it just sank deeper. Parker and Bill were stuck, unable to find their way out. What the divers didn't know was that a rare and frightening event had occurred. Some rocks on the cave ceiling had become loose and fallen, causing an underwater landslide. This landslide had completely blocked Squaw Restriction, trapping Parker and Bill on one side. For 45 desperate minutes, Parker and Bill searched for a way out. Their air supply was running dangerously low. In a last attempt, Bill decided to search one more time, leaving Parker behind for a few minutes. When Bill returned, Parker was gone. With almost no air left, Bill could only wait and hope someone would come to save him. Meanwhile, on the surface, the other divers realized something was wrong. George and others went back into the cave to look for Parker and Bill. When George found Bill, he was sitting motionless in the cave. Bill wrote a heartbreaking message on a slate: "Parker is dead." George was shocked and saddened. He had to leave Bill there to tell the others what had happened. Other divers went down to help Bill, moving him to a safe spot where he had to stay for 4 hours to avoid getting sick from coming up too fast. George kept searching for Parker, diving 9 times before he ran out of air. But he couldn't find any sign of his friend. When he finally came up, he was so focused on finding Parker that he forgot to decompress properly, which made him a little sick. The next morning, police divers entered the cave very early and found Parker's body. It was a sad end to their mission. After thinking about what happened for a long time, the divers believe they know what occurred. When the rocks fell and caused the landslide, it created a small hole in the narrow passage. Parker, running out of air, found this hole and bravely tried to squeeze through it without his tanks. He attempted to pull his tanks through after him but ran out of air and passed out. Because of his special diving suit, Parker floated up to the ceiling of the cave. By squeezing through the hole, Parker actually made it bigger, which helped Bill get through later. Parker's tanks landed on the guideline, showing Bill where the hole was and helping him find his way out. Bill survived because of the path Parker made, but sadly, Parker didn't make it. This cave diving accident is very unusual and mysterious. Most of the time when something goes wrong in cave diving, it's because of a mistake a diver made. But in this case, It was nature that caused the problem. The falling rocks and underwater landslide were something no one could have predicted. In fact, according to a scientific paper from 2015, this is the only known cave diving death caused by natural factors, not human error. This makes it one of the most puzzling diving disasters ever recorded. The Indian Springs cave disaster taught divers a lot about safety in underwater caves. They learned that the bubbles from divers can sometimes make rocks on the ceiling come loose. Now, divers are more careful about this when they explore caves. The impact of this event was huge. Many of the divers from this team stopped cave diving altogether after what happened. George and Bill took a break from diving, with George nearly quitting the sport completely. Over time, they slowly returned to diving, but the memory of what happened stayed with them. Bill later said in a documentary, "Not a day goes by that I don't think about Parker." The courage and sacrifice of Parker Turner, who likely saved Bill's life by creating an escape route, is something that will always be remembered in the diving community. This disaster changed how people think about cave diving safety. It showed that even the most experienced divers can face unexpected dangers. The bubble theory that came from this incident, the idea that divers' bubbles can affect the cave structure, is now an important part of cave diving knowledge. The mystery of exactly what happened in those dark underwater tunnels may never be fully solved. But the story of the Indian Springs cave disaster continues to teach important lessons about safety, bravery, and the unpredictable power of nature. For cave divers today, the story of Parker and Bill serves as a constant reminder of the risks they face.